In the early 1980s, an economist watched America grapple with its worst recession since the Great Depression. Factories were silent, unemployment soared, and across the country, millions faced a chilling question. Would they ever work again? Amidst this despair, Wassily Leontief, a recent Nobel laureate, saw something far more fundamental than a temporary downturn. He saw the very foundation of human labor beginning to crack under the weight of a new machine age. He sensed a coming economic earthquake, one that threatened to make entire swaths of the workforce obsolete, not just for a season, but forever. Leontief's warning, published in 1982, was largely dismissed, a pessimistic outlier in an era of technological optimism. But now, 4 decades later, with generative AI rewriting the rules of work in real time, his forgotten predictions are being unearthed, revealing a stark, almost prophetic vision. How did one man, working with primitive computers, see so clearly into our future? Wassily Leontief was born in Germany in 1905 to Russian parents, a prodigy who earned his economics degree at 19 from the University of Leningrad and his Ph.D. from the University of Berlin by 23, but he was no ivory tower academic. Leontief immigrated to the United States in 1931, landing at Harvard University's economics department. In 1932, just as the Great Depression was tightening its grip, he believed economics needed to be grounded in reality, in the messy, interconnected flow of goods and services that made up a real economy. This conviction led him to develop input-output analysis, a revolutionary method for mapping the intricate dependencies between every sector of an economy, from steel production to butter churning. It was a monumental task, and in 1949, Leontief turned to the Harvard Marquee, a room-sized leviathan of a computer, one of the earliest to tackle such complex economic modeling. This groundbreaking work earned him the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences in 1973. Yet even after this pinnacle of recognition, Leontief remained restless, always searching for the next big economic truth, often against the prevailing wisdom. He left Harvard in 1975 to found the Institute for Economic Analysis at New York University, where he continued to push the boundaries of empirical economics. It was there, amidst a new wave of technological change and economic upheaval, that he made his most controversial and, some now say, most prescient prediction. The early 1980s were a crucible for the American worker. The U.S. was in the throes of a brutal recession, unemployment hitting a staggering 8%, the highest since World War II. Industries like steel and auto manufacturing, once the backbone of the nation, saw unemployment rates skyrocket to 24% as new, more efficient machines rolled onto factory floors. The pain was real, immediate, and widespread. Most economists saw this as a cyclical downturn, a temporary adjustment that the resilient American economy would soon overcome. But Leontief looked beyond the headlines, beyond the business cycle. He saw something fundamentally different in the new machines emerging from research labs and tech companies. In his September 1982 Scientific American article, he wrote, "With the advent of solid-state electronics, machines that have been displacing human muscle from the production of goods are being succeeded by machines that take over the functions of the human nervous system." This wasn't just about brawn, but brains. Computers, he argued, were performing first simple and then increasingly complex mental tasks. A shift that threatened not only factory workers, but the entire white-collar workforce too. The implications were enormous. If machines could do mental work, what would be left for humans? In 1983, Leontief sharpened his argument with an analogy that would become famous. He declared, "The role of humans as the most important factor of production is bound to diminish, in the same way that the role of horses in agricultural production was first diminished and then eliminated by the introduction of tractors." He pointed out that farmers didn't keep their horses by feeding them less. They simply got rid of them. The crucial difference, he noted with a grim practicality, was that horses don't vote. This wasn't merely a technological challenge. It was a profound political and social problem. Yet his contemporaries largely dismissed his concerns as the Luddite fallacy, arguing that technology always creates more jobs than it destroys, a historical truth that had held for centuries. The prevailing economic wisdom focused on skill-biased technical change, believing that technology would primarily complement skilled workers, making them more productive, while replacing only the unskilled. Leontief, however, saw a future where even the most complex cognitive tasks, the very domain of skilled workers, would eventually be within the machine's grasp. What makes Leontief's insight so remarkable is the technological landscape he inhabited. When he penned his warnings, artificial intelligence as we know it barely existed. The cutting-edge AI of the 1980s consisted of rudimentary expert systems, programs that followed vast sets of rules to mimic human decisions in very narrow fields. The Internet was still decades away from widespread adoption, and the first Macintosh computer, with its revolutionary graphical interface, had yet to be released. Computing power was minuscule, data storage was expensive, and machines were clunky, limited in scope. Leontief wasn't peering into a crystal ball showing ChatGPT or advanced robotics. He was instead extrapolating from fundamental economic principles and the nascent capabilities of early computers, intuiting the economic consequences of machines performing increasingly sophisticated mental work long before the machines themselves were truly ready. Leontief's projections weren't vague philosophical musings. They were grounded in his rigorous input-output models. Working with his colleague Faye Dushan, a computer scientist and economist, he co-authored The Future Impact of Automation on Workers in 1986. This book used his precise economic framework to project the effects of automation on the U.S. workforce all the way to the year 2000. While his predictions of a chronic rise in unemployment didn't immediately materialize in the way he envisioned, the U.S. economy largely recovered and unemployment trended down for decades. The seeds of his deeper insights were sown. He argued that the traditional link between work and income would be severed and that the benefits of technological progress would not be shared equally. He posited that society would need to fundamentally rethink how it distributed wealth in a world where fewer humans were needed for production. His proposed solutions were radical for the time: a shorter work week to spread the available jobs, and new income distribution mechanisms, perhaps through government transfers, to ensure that everyone could benefit from the incredible productivity gains of automation. For decades after, Leontief's warnings remained largely forgotten, filed away as an interesting but ultimately incorrect prediction. The Luddite fallacy argument held sway as new industries like software and information technology emerged, creating millions of new jobs. Mainstream economists continued to believe that technological displacement was always temporary and that the market would naturally reallocate labor. But then, in the 2010s and 2020s, something shifted. Robotics advanced with astonishing speed, and then generative AI burst onto the scene, suddenly demonstrating capabilities that felt eerily close to Leontief's descriptions of machines taking over complex mental tasks. Suddenly, the horse analogy didn't seem so far-fetched. While unemployment rates didn't skyrocket as he projected, economists like Daron Acemoglu of MIT began publishing research showing that automation, particularly since the late 1980s, had been a primary driver of rising wage inequality. The jobs lost to automation, it turned out, were not being replaced by an equal number of similar opportunities for lower-skilled workers. Leontief's prescience wasn't in predicting a specific technology like ChatGPT, but in foreseeing the profound economic and social disruptions that intelligent machines would eventually bring. Wassily Leontief died in 1999, never seeing the full bloom of the AI era he so keenly anticipated. But his story offers a powerful lesson. Progress isn't just about invention. It's about understanding the consequences of those inventions, especially the human ones. He wasn't just an economist. He was a futurist who grounded his vision in data, unafraid to challenge deeply held beliefs. His work reminds us that while technology unlocks unprecedented abundance, it also forces us to confront fundamental questions about how we define value, distribute wealth, and ensure human dignity in a world increasingly shaped by machines. The challenge he laid out in 1982, how to manage a transition to a world where our most precious asset, human labor, might be increasingly unneeded for production, is now not a distant possibility, but an urgent contemporary debate. What are your thoughts on Leontief's predictions now, with AI integrated into our daily lives? Share your perspective in the comments below. If you found this journey through economic foresight compelling, consider subscribing to the channel to explore more stories of hidden forces shaping our world.